This is Mr. This is from a book lover to an acclaimed author and a columnist. Sudha Murthy's life has been one of great achievements and milestones. An engineering graduate, a prolific writer, she has to her credit more than 30 books in Kannada and English, which have sold over 26 lakh copies across the country. Her books have been translated in almost all Indian languages. The Murthys have over 20,000 books in their personal library. And as chairperson of Infosys Foundation, she has been responsible for setting up over 60,000 libraries all over Karnataka. Among her many awards are R.K. Narayan Award for Literature, the Padam Shri in 2006, the Atim Abbe Award from the Government of Karnataka for Excellence in Kannada Literature in 2011, and most recently, the Lifetime Achievement Award by Crossword Book in 2018. Apart from the doctorate she received today from IIT Kanpur, she has received 7 other honorary doctorates. She lives by the belief that generosity of a few is hope for millions. Mrs. Sudha Murthy. He co-founded Infosys in 1981 to make it India's largest tech company with a market cap of over $45 billion. Before founding Infosys, he worked with IIM Ahmedabad as a chief systems programmer, where later he became the chairman of the board of governors of IIM Ahmedabad. His belief always has been that you need to create wealth legally and ethically, a mantra he lives by to date. He has been enlisted in the top 12 greatest entrepreneurs by the Fortune magazine. A few of the many boards that NRN currently serves on are the Ford Foundation, the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton, New Jersey, and the United Nations Foundation. Amongst the many boards that he has served on are the boards of HSBC and Unilever, both headquartered in London. He has received Legion d'Honneur from France, CB from Britain, and Padma Vibhushan and Padma Shri in India, amongst a plethora of awards and recognitions all over the world. Despite all these awards and honors, he's always shown the values of simple living. He is known for his down-to-earth nature and friendliness. His achievements and hard work are a great example for any Indian entrepreneur who aspires to be an entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of presenting before you Mrs. Sudha Murthy and Mr. Narayan Murthy. Please welcome them to the round of applause. Dr. Anuradha Vashne of Fiki Flow, Kanpur chapter, to please give the welcome address.
थैंक यू। सभागार में उपस्थित सभी अतिथियों को अनुराधा का नमन। अतिथि देवो भव। टाई यूपी चैप्टर और फ्लो कानपुर चैप्टर की तरफ से पद्म विभूषण NK नारायण मूर्ति जी एवं पद्म श्री डॉक्टर सुधा मूर्ति जी का स्वागत करती हूँ, अभिनंदन एवं वंदन करती हूँ। आपका आगमन हमारा सौभाग्य। इस सौभाग्य के लिए तहे दिल से शुक्रिया करती हूँ डॉक्टर फनी का, IIT कानपुर का। अगर आपका साथ ना होता तो ये सपना साकार ना होता। बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करती हूँ आपका। स्वागत करती हूँ अपने गणमान्य अतिथियों का, टाई यूपी एवं फ्लो कानपुर के सदस्यों का। आपके सहयोग के लिए आभारी हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
May I invite the Thai President, Mr. Amit Tiwari, to please come on stage and honor our guests with a shawl. Vicky Flo has
Sundarbans, and they can take the growth of the tree or the number given on the certificate. So it's trees of flowers, we give them certificate.
May I now invite our moderator for the evening, Dr. Aarti Gupta. Dr. Aarti Gupta holds a doctorate in economics from IIT Kanpur, a master's from Harvard University. In her endeavor to make a difference in the lives of others, Aarti serves on the board of Harvard Global Women Empowerment. She's also the Senior Vice Chairperson of Vicky Flo Kanpur chapter.
Very good evening to all, and a very warm welcome once again to two stellar personalities, Mr. Narayan Murthy and Mrs. Sudha Murthy. Individually, both of them need no introduction. One is amongst India's top entrepreneurs, a role model, a leader and a visionary, while the other is a teacher, a philanthropist, an author, and one of the most compassionate human beings we've known. Today, we members of Vicky Flo and Thai UP and our friends in the audience have the utmost privilege of listening to and learning from India's most dynamic, powerful, and yet most humble couple. Hello, sir, ma'am, thank you for taking out the time to speak to us. It's an absolute honor. Sir, I would like to start with you. Quoting ma'am, the first step which one makes in the world as a child is one on which depends the rest of our days. Could you tell us how your upbringing impacted you in your journey from a humble background to reaching the pinnacle of success?
Well, we were a family of 8 children. Father was a teacher, high school teacher. Therefore, obviously, we were from lower middle class. There was enough to eat, enough to survive, but nothing more. What we learned from our parents and from our siblings are the following. One, from our siblings, we learned how to share and care, because somebody or other would always be sick. Those days, the health condition of the country was not as good as now. So you had to take care of one of your siblings. Second, there will be some fight between two kids over something. Finally, mother would say, no, why don't you give it to the other person? And sharing is caring kind of stuff. From the father, it was very clearly discipline, extreme discipline, focus on studies, focus on English, and working hard, and from mother, compassion, and then ability to look at the other person's problems as one's own, and taking care of a larger number of people. These were the various things that I learned. And I think in some way they all helped in founding Infosys when I got together 6 younger colleagues of mine, who were all of whom were about 7-8 levels below me in the company I was working. And they were about 11 years younger than me. Whether it was in sharing the equity with them, whether in terms of taking a small part of my own salary while increasing their salary. In every one of these, I think whatever I had learned from my parents, mother, father, and siblings, they all came in handy. And of course, there was a fourth dimension which added to my values, and that was from my teachers. Particularly high school teacher, college teachers. They were very strict, but at the same time they taught us some of the important values of putting the interest of the community ahead of one's personal interest, making sure that you treated the community property with considerable respect and honesty, etc.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, throughout your life, you've been known to do the out-of-the-box thing. Right from being the only female engineering student in college, to being the first lady engineer to be hired at Telco, to convincing 3,000 Devadasis to look beyond age-old practices and stand on their own feet. Over the years, you have managed to shatter the glass ceiling with each act of yours. Where do you get the courage to go against the tide, to do things beyond the ordinary?
Good evening to everyone. I really appreciate the hot summer you have come to listen to us. I would not have done that. Thank you very much for that. Actually, the courage lies within everyone, but they do not tap it. I'll give an example. I took my son 25 years back to a zoo, and there I saw a mother and a child. It's an elephant. The child was 10 months old, and his name was Ganesh, and mother was Vismaya or something. And I said, 10 months child means a small child, you know. And as an elephant, I went and patted on his trunk, and he just pushed me. I fell 10 feet apart. Then I looked at mother. If the child can push me, mother must have 1,000 times more power, energy. She was tied with a chain to a tree, and if she really wanted, just give one kick, the tree will be rooted anyway, and it's upside down, and she would have been free. But the mother thinks I have been tied to this tree by a chain, so I'm in bandhan. Okay? So I can't do anything. So is the human being. We have a great potential inside, but we always put conditions. I can't do because this is what people will talk. I can't do. My mother will not like. I can't do. Somebody, neighbors will talk. As long as it is ethically, legally right, you should unleash your potential. And what I did was exactly.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, a lesser known fact about you is that in your youth, you romanticized the idea of being a politician in a communist party, and it was in fact an unsavory experience in Bulgaria that eventually pushed you towards capitalism. Having oscillated between the two extremes, what is your opinion on the economic agenda that India should pursue today? Is there a way we can harmonize our high-tech growth agenda with an equitable human development agenda?
I'll try and answer both of them. First is the socialism, communism part and compare it with capitalism part. Second is how do we harmonize high-tech job growth with the betterment for the society. First of all, it was very easy for any one of us, those of you who are somewhere around me in age, will remember that we are all influenced to a large extent by Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru was influenced very heavily by Harold Lasky in London. He was a socialist, he was an economist, a political thinker, political economist and a thinker. And number two, at that time, if you remember, it was Dwight Eisenhower who was the president of the US, Republican Party, ruled US most of 50s because after whatever 9 years of the Republican Party rule, President Kennedy came, etc. So they were not so much in favor of India. For example, Nehru wanted one of the steel plants in India, I don't remember whether it was Bokaro or Durgapur, to be built by the Americans. But the American senators said, no, our steel export opportunity will go down, therefore we should not build. However, then Nehru turned to Soviet Union and so Soviet Union built the second steel plant for us. Not only had they built the first one, they built even the second one. So therefore, the goodwill those days was much more for Soviet Union, much more for socialism, much more for communism, because we had just been granted independence, and obviously Britain had exploited India, and therefore we were all quite upset about it, and we leaned towards socialism. But as I grew up, as I went to France to work there in early 70s after my days here at IIT Kanpur, I realized that the only way societies can solve the problem of poverty is through creation of jobs with better and better income. And the only people who can create such jobs are entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs need encouragement from the government. Entrepreneurs don't need the government to create those jobs. All that entrepreneurs are looking for is a catalyst role from the government. And entrepreneurs will indeed create those jobs, create wealth for themselves. Therefore, I am now more than ever convinced that the only ism that India will benefit from in order to solve its problem of poverty is compassionate capitalism, which is capitalism in mind and socialism at heart, which is about fairness and equity between the salaries of the highest level CEOs and the lowest level employees, which is about concern for the society, etc. Now, coming to the second question that you asked, I think India's problem of joblessness cannot be satisfied or cannot be handled by high-tech growth at all. Yes, it will create some jobs, but it will create jobs only for well-educated people. Just like it has created probably about maybe 10 million jobs or so, it cannot create jobs for 120 million Indian families. The only way that can be done is through low-tech manufacturing, is through heavy industries like automobile industry, etc. And the reason why these industries are more suited is because majority of Indians are either not well educated and many of them are illiterate. Therefore, if these people need to receive reasonable kinds of jobs, then the only way it can happen is we have to focus on heavy industries, we have to focus on automobile sector, we have to focus on improved agricultural sector, etc. Therefore, high-tech alone will not sort out the joblessness problem. High-tech along with jobs for the not so well educated is how we can improve the job conditions. For that, of course, infrastructure has to improve. We have to make sure that foreign investment is encouraged very, very enthusiastically. We have to make sure that the Indian industrialists are encouraged. Well, some of these sectors of the economy have a long gestation period, and therefore such sectors of the economy need to be given very advantageous loans, etc. If we did all of that, I do believe that we will be able to bring a harmonization between high-tech sectors of the economy and not so high-tech sectors of the economy.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, in one of your interviews, you said that your vision for India, where every child has food, clothes and education, is different from Mr. Murthy's tech-empowered vision for India. Do you think that these are conflicting visions, or is there a way they can complement each other?
I think they complement each other. When you want to create a job for the non-IT people, that's what Mr. Murthy was telling, that less education or middle level or lower level, then what do you require? You require minimum education. To have minimum education, you should have good schools. To go to school, you require actually many things. Apart from that, you require food. I found out, many children drop out from schools in villages because I have most of the time I realized children drop out because they are hungry and they can't go to school and concentrate. And the parents take them to work because at least they will earn some money. So if you don't have a midday meal, children cannot go to school. Their body will not be healthy. They can't be a good worker later. So the basis is that you should have basic minimum skill education and good food. Similarly, I found out female children, girls at least, in a village area, they drop out after 14 because there are no toilets. Because the parents feel now it's not safe to send them to school without toilet, they drop out. So my vision is to make a better citizen or to get more opportunities in life. At least for those people who are not well educated, they should have good food, that is a midday meal. The school should have toilets with a running tap water. Third, they should have at least 3 sets of clothes. And they should have a job which will ultimately lead them to get something. Education which will lead them to get a job. It's a job-oriented courses and good language. I always believe you should have 2-3 languages. Your own mother tongue, and of course you are born in that state, it's your mother tongue. And many times you require a good communication language like English. You have more opportunities. So my agenda always is complement actually with the Murthy's way of thinking. But I'm on the lower strata of the society. So you can see Mr. Murthy most of the time in the airports, and you can see most of the time I'll be in a village. A village, a technology, and lower technology together makes a complements make a universal set.
Wonderfully put, ma'am. Sir, in your words, it can be more difficult to learn from success than from failure. Your first experience with entrepreneurship, a company called Softronics, was not a success. And on the other hand, Infosys became a multi-billion-dollar company. We would like to know, what is the most important lesson you learned from your failures and the most important lesson you learned from your success?
Well, in some sense, the lessons are the same. In the case of failure, what you did not do. In the case of so-called success, what you did. I think the most important lesson that I learned was you must have a market. If as an entrepreneur you want to succeed, you must have a market. Market that is willing to pay the required price to buy your products or services. Otherwise, you will not be able to create employment for many people in the company. You will not be able to create wealth for yourselves. You will not be able to help those families send their children to schools, take care of their old parents, etc., etc. That's one. Market is the most important thing. In fact, many cases in India fail simply because they do not have access to the market, or the market does not have the strength to buy your products. On the side of whatever little success that we have had, that I realized that you have to compare yourself globally in your field and compete with the best global companies in your field. Whether it is in finance, whether it is in software development, whether it's in human resources, whether it's in quality, whether it's in your physical infrastructure, etc., etc. In everything that you do, you have to ask, is this better than the global best? At least you must have that aim to become better than the global best. If you have that desire, if you have that willpower, if you have that action oriented nature to actually become better than the global best, then you will start moving towards the global best. And once you are focused on global best, then you will be in a position to export your product. Then the conditions of your country do not matter. For example, my first company, Softronics, failed because there was no market in India, and I was not at that time thinking on how to make my services global quality. So I quickly learned that. Therefore, I think you have to compete yourself with the global best companies in everything that you do. And there are many other lessons. I don't want to talk about them because I think taking too much of time in answering a question is not a very good idea. So I'll stop here.
Sir, we are here just to listen to you.
Please.
Sir, following up, what a great message it was for all our young budding entrepreneurs. Following up on that question, Infosys is known as the original tech startup, almost started about 4 decades ago. If you had to start Infosys today, do you think it would be comparatively easy or difficult?
No, I don't think it will be comparatively easy, simply because, first of all, India has moved quite a lot of distance forward. Today, entrepreneurship has become a recognized vocation for smart youngsters. Once upon a time, every parent wanted their children to become civil servants, IAS officers. Later on, every parent wanted their children to become MBAs from IIM Ahmedabad or Lucknow or whatever other institutions. Now, every parent wants his or her children to become entrepreneurs. So therefore, entrepreneurship has become quite well accepted in our society, and therefore there are lots of smart fellows entering the field, and therefore the competition is huge. Second, the world has moved forward. Today, to succeed in the global arena, you have to be very smart, you have to work very hard, you have to be very disciplined, etc. However, there is one thing that in some way has helped the entrepreneurs, that has also come in the way of success, that is the venture capitalists are pouring large amounts of money. Therefore, today it's not necessary to become profitable quickly and then get yourself listed. Most of the exits are not because of IPO, but most of the exits are because of secondary sale to some other VC. Therefore, in such an environment, only those people who attract a large amount of money are the ones who will sustain themselves, and at some point of time they will be able to escape to the next target. So therefore I would say that succeeding today is much more difficult than when we started out in 1981.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure you would be a stellar success even if Infosys started.
Well, I think, while at one level I'm concerned about high-tech entrepreneurship, I am an urban person, all of that. But I've always believed that the only time that we can really say India is a developed country is if the poorest child in the remotest part of India, in the remotest village in India, has enough, as Sudha said, enough healthcare, education, nutrition, shelter, and confidence that its future will be secure and safe and becoming better as time passes. That is the biggest challenge that India faces. India will not become developed just because there are some 50 billionaires. No, it will not. India cannot consider itself a success just because some cities in India, grow to have large multi-storied buildings, glass buildings and all of that. That's not the index of success. The index of success, index of development is every child in every part of the country must have hope of obtaining decent education, decent healthcare, decent nutrition, decent shelter, and hope that its future, its children's future, its grandchildren's future will be better. That's what I would say.
For me, the India and global, the most important thing is water. Water brings disease. If there is no drinking water, then you think of the situation. You can see today Cape Town, and you can go and see Chennai now 40 rupees a bucket there. Recently, I bought in recent one. Water is the most important source we should really address. And when I was talking to Mr. Murthy, he told me that India is 16% of the world population, and when it comes to water, good water, we have only 4%. Imagine what a disparity you have in your own country. And in survey we found out in my work in village that you can give good food, you can have toilet, but if there is no water, toilet is of no use. You give in Jaipur around that area, we give midday meal, but we didn't give water. I thought the children bring water from home or the school as a tap, but it's a contaminated water, and that is more dangerous. So the children started falling sick, and then someone said, oh, it's because of your midday meal. It was not because of your midday meal. They brought water from home. Then we started giving them water from home, from this foundation. Then there was no children were not sick. Then they started asking us, can you take this water home? We can't say no, because in Indian tradition, if you don't give water, then we're all trained, that's a sin in a way. But how much to give? Then my sister wants, my mother wants. So it becomes such a social problem for us, how much you can give, and because you have to address that issue. So I consider a good clean water is a real source of what you have to consider. It's a real culprit of our health issues.
Thank you, ma'am. A reminder to all of us.
But I would just like to add to what Sudha said. The reason why all these problems are faced in India is because we have completely forgotten about population control. I used to serve on Sri Vajpayee's Population Council. Ratan Tata and I were the two people who served. Nobody took those meetings seriously. There were silly fights between the opposition and the government, and over a period of, we were members for 5 years. I don't think that met more than 4 or 5 times. And after Sanjay Gandhi's, all those cruel stuff that he did in 1976, unfortunately, for the last 43 years, no Prime Minister has ever stood up and said, this is the most important problem of the country. Therefore, the smartest politician must be put in charge of family planning and family planning. Therefore, the maximum amount of money must be given to family planning. All the condoms must be distributed free, etc., etc. Unless we bring back family planning onto the front burner, water will be a problem. I entirely agree with you. Food will be a problem, and then living will be a problem. As it is, industrialization is so difficult in India because there, like what happened in West Bengal, where Mamata Banerjee threw out Tatas and then they had to go to Gujarat. So I think unless this country realizes that it has, its density of population is 12 times that of United States. Our density of population is 18 times that of Brazil. So looking at all large area countries, India has the highest density of population, and therefore unless we control our population, water will be a problem, and food will be a problem, everything else will be a problem.
Serious issues for all of us to think on. Sir, ma'am, both of you are widely recognized for your virtues of humility and philanthropy. However, there is a perception that the philanthropic endeavors of the elite 0.1%, the Billionaire Club of India, is no way commensurate with the peers in the West. Do you think this is a fair perception? And I'll leave it to either of you to answer this.
I always tell Mr. Murthy to start. So whatever he has forgotten, I can add to that. There is a reason why rich people in India are not philanthropists. The concept of philanthropy is so different than charity. It itself is a big chapter, and this is not a chapter to tell actually. However, always for the last 1,500 years, we have been always ruled by somebody. In the process, we are not secure. So we save money, or we don't give because we really care for the next generation. What happens to my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, etc. And we never had any social security like America or any European countries. So the whole mindset or DNA is when you make money, first is you store it, okay? And then you think of philanthropy or charity. You think of charity. Charity is such a misleading because when I do a temple construction, it's a charity according to me. But what is the use to the whole society? It may not be. And I give food to my own community. We think it's a dan, annadana is a great thing. But we do not think the way true philanthropists should think. We should help those people. Without our help, they will perish. And to get this concept, it requires some more time. Where we have seen a legal wealth in our country, tell me? A common man, common people like me and Murthy, who are children of school teachers. He was the son of a school teacher. I'm a daughter of a professor, okay? One level up. My dad was a doctor and a professor. We don't come from wealthy families. And when we become legally, ethically rich, we understand what it is. And most people will not get that opportunity. Because the concept of saving for my next generation is so hard. And when you see, there is a mindset also is required along with that what is the use of money? How much money one requires? Crore is enough. For somebody, 10 crore is not enough. For someone, 1,000 crore is not enough. The line where you draw money is enough. It depends on individual. So most individuals are not secure and not used to live in a simple way. When you live in a simple way, you really do not require that kind of a money which you have experienced and experimented both. Money is required. I don't say I'm not Bhagwan Buddha. I'm an ordinary person. Money is required to build a house for your old age, for your children's education, for your health issues, in case you want to travel some money. But how much? It depends on you. So there is no rule like after 1 crore it is enough money. But I have realized with my own experience, it is highly subjective subject. My mother-in-law died in my hand. My mother died in my hand. With all the money, we can't revive. I realized in 1919 when my father died by heart attack, I realized money gives you certain comforts, but money should not define you. And because the excess money what you have does not bring you excess happiness. So I drew my line, and above that line, I said it should go to philanthropy. To those people, without our help, they will perish. Not to my own people. My own people I have not given any money because I said you work hard and make money. But institutions like Kanpur, where I built a computer center on my grandfather's name, who was a school teacher, it means a lot to me. So it depends upon where you draw the line, how do you think, and what are your comforts. For somebody, 10 drivers are essential. For someone, 5 houses are needed. So I can't make a general statement where you have to draw a line. So Indian billionaires, it will take some time, new billionaires. And I found out at Infosys Foundation that our next generation children, who are our employees, are much more large-hearted. The reason is they don't come from 8 children family like Murthy or 4 like mine. They come from 1 or 2 children family. They have a ready-made house. Their wife is also working. So they are not seeing the real struggle. So every time, I've seen this marriage card, some children will come and say, "Ma'am, my wife doesn't want the fridge, which must have brought about a year back. So I'll give it to you." I said, "Okay, you sell and give the money to me." "My wife doesn't want this car. Say, lay the keys on my table." I said, "Sell and give me the money." So next generation, I found out, are much more open to philanthropy, much more concerned. For example, we worked 12 national disasters. And the first thing is we get youngsters from our company will come and ask, "Ma'am, do you want money?" I said, "No, money is not a problem. I want people. And I want your time. And you won't get a promotion because of that." Because you just told me there should be a line between your work and my work. They should not say, "I work with Mrs. Murthy in philanthropy and I should get a promotion." You get a pat on your back. Okay? So I have noticed that generation who are 25, 26, they come forward and they want to do that. And by and large, the NGOs, CEOs age is decreasing. Traditionally in our society, our elders have told, when the student goes out of the Gurukula, the teacher calls him and says, "Beta," in those beta only, there is no beti in Gurukula. Whatever you earn, 25% of the money should go to the king. It's like a defense of your country. 25% of the money should go to your family or your institution where you have been grown. Your family or your people who are poor in your relatives, etc. 25% of the money should go to your alma mater, because that is our Gurukula which has brought you up. Remaining 25% should go back to the society from where you come, and there should not be economic disparity. So it has been taught to us, but we keep...
We have eminent members from business families and individuals who are looking to do good for the society. We would like to know, is there a philosophy behind Infosys Foundation? What problems do you choose to solve and what not to solve?
Millions of problems actually, but we will choose something which are dear to our heart and also practical. For example, I'm a daughter of a doctor. So I'm extremely sensitive for medical issues. So we have done operation theatres, we have done dharmashala, sarais, instruments, etc. I do not know how much time we have, otherwise I would have told a story. I'm a storyteller. Foolishly, when we started Infosys Foundation, I know I'm a trained engineer and then I became philanthropist. So I told foolishly, my father asked me, what's your aim in Infosys Foundation in 1996? I told I want to eradicate sex workers' problems and rehabilitate. He said, good luck. I said, fine. And when I was young, I used to wear jeans and a t-shirt and I had a bobbed hair. You can't, recollect me to now imagine. So I went to a Devadasi area where the sex workers live in that place. And the moment they saw me, they threw chappals at me. They said, don't come because you look so different. You're a different person. And again after 15 days I went, they threw tomatoes at me. It was tomato harvest season. And I felt very sad. I want to help them. I took the questionnaire, there's a disease by the name AIDS and you have to take care, etc. They didn't even talk to me. I came and cried. I said I could have spent all my time sitting at home reading something, writing something. I want to help them sincerely, genuinely, and they will treat me like this. My dad told me, looking at me, you got a promotion from chappal to tomato. Then he said, did you see your face in the mirror? I said, what is there to see in the mirror? You have like the same face. He said, no. Do you look like any normal Indian lady who can work with the poorest of the poor? You have a bobbed hair, you have a t-shirt, you are wearing jeans. So they won't recognize you, they think you are somebody else. He said, I don't believe in what I wear and what work I do. I don't believe. Even today I don't believe. He said, if your aim is to help them, then you should believe the method you have to adopt. It took 15 days for me. Then I bought 200 rupees sari, bought a silver Mangal Sutra. I never used to wear gold, silver on my body until 1996. So I brought a silver Mangal Sutra. Otherwise they think I'm a runaway bride. No, I don't have a husband or husband has deserted me. Okay, we never know. Or I'm an unwed mother with 2 kids or something. Because it happens most of the time in villages, the husband leaves and goes away. So then I tied my hair and went with him and then I started working for them. And my dad told me one very important thing. Alcohol and sex workers. You just cannot eradicate in the world. They come along with the human generation. You can reduce it. So it was an impossible task, I took it. Like you said, what you could not. I took an impossible task, but I reduced my aim, or I came, in one area, there are 3,000 sex workers. So I said, in that area, I'll make it completely free. And after 20 years, I could make that area completely free. So we do take a lot of work, but now with age and with experience, I gauge which should be taken, which should not be taken. Like national issues, I don't take because I can't see the results in my lifetime. I take issues which are relevant to that state and where with a lot of work we can see the results, because people who work with me, they should also feel positive about it. So that's the way of how we decide now.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, talking about states, Infosys Foundation is working in 16 states currently, if I'm correct. But not in Uttar Pradesh. When are you coming to Uttar Pradesh? We really need you, ma'am, here.
I do understand that. I really do understand. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh are 2 places. If I were young, I would have really come and worked. But, normally we have a rule. Wherever we have Infosys presence, there only we have to work. Okay. Noida does not have a big office to hold us.
So we
have to request Narayan Infosys presence, because we'll have some facility if we have an office there. That's the reason in UP as such we do not have. And we have in Punjab, we have in Kerala, Gujarat. No, we don't work in Gujarat. At the same rule. Indore we have an office, so we work in Madhya Pradesh. The place where we don't have, but still where I was, we were told to work. My central government was in Northeast. Where we work, we don't have presence. But assuming Calcutta will be, our next president, so it is. But I really feel these states really require great help, and good NGO should come along with the people. Good NGO, good and people of the same city, and political will can change anything. Political will. You should remember it, not even the political will.
We in 1996 we formed a set of rules. First one was, as Sudha said, we have to have a presence in a state. And second, we said the amount of money that we would spend in that place is proportional to the number of employees in that particular center. So that's the reason why, even though we have a small center in Noida, we are building a huge presence in Noida, in a slightly different part of it. But at this point in time, it's still a small presence. That's why you don't see too much of Infosys presence in UP.
So hopefully soon to see both Infosys and Infosys Foundation in UP.
Absolutely.
So could you give us your views about the state of corporate governance in India? And what do you think are the steps we can take to make it more robust?
Well, good corporate governance is all about ensuring that there is fairness, transparency, and accountability with respect to every one of the stakeholders, while maximizing the shareholder value. Who are the stakeholders? Customers, employees, investors, vendor partners, government of the land, and the society. In other words, you have to be transparent to each of these, you have to be fair to each of these, and you have to hold yourself accountable to each of these. If you look at what has happened in India in the recent past, unfortunately, whether it is Nirav Modi's case, whether it is Vijay Mallya's case, whether it's ICICI Bank's case, etc., etc., what has happened is sad. Particularly in the case of Vijay Mallya's case, it was not that Kingfisher was not doing well and therefore the employees were put into difficulty. It would have been all right if Mr. Vijay Mallya had shown a little bit of control over his lifestyle when so many people were suffering in his company. For so many employees had not been paid for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. If an employee is not paid for 1 year, if this fellow continues to enjoy holding parties in Goa and all, printing swimsuit calendars and all of that, then that is not fair to those employees. That is not fair to the society. I think, therefore, we are quite a long way off from practicing the best form of governance. Though by and large, I must say, our corporate governance levels have improved when the entire corporate world stands up and says, what has happened is wrong. That somehow in India we don't do that. Whether it was Vijay Mallya's case or whether it's Nirav Modi's case, how many business people stood up and said this is wrong? Nobody did that. I think that is where we have to, if we find some problem, we have to get to a culture where we can say, Beta, Bhaiya, this is not right. This should not be so. Somehow, in our culture, we believe that being a good man means keeping quiet even if you see a murder going on next to you. I think that has to change. If all the business people were to stand up and say, this person has violated good rules of business, therefore we will shun him. We will not do any business with him. And what he has done is wrong. I don't think any of the institutions, including CII, FICCI, none of them has made any such statements. So therefore, I think we as a country will have to change to gently or at least nicely point out if there is something that is not right. At least, in fact, my wife keeps saying that, look, I am brutally frank. I say it openly. If I find something that is not excellent, I say, look, folks, you are such good people in every other way. Why is this like this? Why can't you improve that? I say openly. I don't care what they think of me. I personally think that this is the difference between India and the West. In the West, people don't mind saying openly if things require to be improved. So I think we also have to learn that. Then only our corporate governance levels will go up.
I just want to add, Mr. Murthy is extremely strict about that. I can give many examples. One example I want to tell you. Once somebody came and wanted 15,000 rupees 20 years back for a book. He wanted to publish a book in computer science. And the management, they get a lot of such pressure. So he sent it to that, officially he's my boss. At home I am his boss. That is a different story. He said, yes, send him, kindly consider. I wrote, Mr. Narayan, it is not possible. Foundation rule is more for the primary education, not for a MTech level computer science book. Then I put a note, another note with a handwriting, not on the paper, a separate note. Mr. Murthy, you are a rich man. You can give 15,000 from your personal and send the checkbook, because the checkbook is always with me. And you sign and give the money.
There's a lesson for you.
Yeah. That means,
Make sure that
even though he's the chairman of the company and I'm CSR head, still, if the chairman says you have to give, I will not give, because it doesn't fit in our strategies. And foundation has given me a car, and Murthy never sits. He says it's meant for you, and I can't sit. To an extent. Third incident, we were in Calcutta, and we went to Welcome Hotel, and it's a one-night stay there, and they were very happy. The first thing we went there, they gave us a suite, etc., and we asked for an ordinary room. Murthy said, I want 2 beds. They were quite surprised. I said, why? He said, I have come on official work, my wife has come somewhere work. So divide by 2, make 2 bills of the same amount, half the amount, and I will pay. Infosys will pay for me and foundation will pay for her. What's let her pay? I don't know what she has come and she should pay. I told Murthy in Canada, don't talk like that. People will think that we are fighting. Or something. He said, whatever replied in English, saying that let anybody think anything. Why my company should pay for my wife? My wife should. No, that was not official work or something. And I was really, I didn't know what to do. So I asked, my sister was with me. I said, okay, I will take a double room with my sister and I'll pay for it. And you take a single room next door and you pay for it. And I was really upset when I was young. But now I realized it's easy to break the law. It's very easy to break the law, and it's very difficult to make such laws. For example, you walk every day for many years and you stop walking 1 week. Your body says, "Arey chalta hai, jaane do." You smoke 2 days, 3rd day you get addicted. Bad habits are easy to get addicted. Good habits are very difficult to form, easy to live. So Mr. Murthy kept it a golden standard that office wealth should not be used anywhere. It's only the office. That's it.
You're such a versatile author. You started your career writing fiction and then moved to writing non-fiction. You write technical journals, powerful real-life stories for adults, amazing stories with strong messages for children. We would like to know what is your favorite genre to write for and your favorite audience to write for.
I started writing when I was 16 or 12. Then, teenagers write that way, and then my first book came when I was 29, that's in Kannada. Up to the age of 50, I never wrote in English. I come from a Kannada medium high school, like I'm sure you have government Hindi medium school, like that. We are in Karnataka, we have Kannada medium schools. So I never wrote in English, I always wrote in Kannada. And in 2000 I started writing in English. I write novels. That novels I conceive in Kannada. I write in Kannada, then I write in English later. Technical books, I conceive in English and write in Kannada and English both. But my experience at the Infosys Foundation, I conceive in English and write in English, and then I write in Kannada. So I have a different method of writing. When it comes to Kannada, I write in shorthand. When it comes to English, I write on a computer. All are great, but I think the challenge with writing for children is more difficult because their mind is very soft. It is like a wet wall and you have a glass piece in your hand. Whatever you etch, it will be dried like that. You have to use the correct theme, correct words. Writing experience is very easy and it's much more relatable. So writing my Infosys Foundation experience is one which I enjoy most.
Lovely. Sir, do you read ma'am's manuscript before writing?
No, not really, not really. First of all, I don't think she considers me worthy of critiquing her books. And second, I tell you, actually, I would know the story because she would have talked about some incident and all of that.
Women talk more, mothers talk more, a sister Hendricks talks more. I'm all three, please remember.
Second, I think there's also a certain fun when the book comes out, when you read, and when you attend the book release function, etc. So I enjoyed that part more than reading the manuscript. And then also, sometimes you may say something that may not be totally right without fully understanding the context, etc., etc. So therefore, I don't try and do that at all. But however, I enjoy going to the book release function. I read after it is produced, etc.
And he buys my book, by the way.
So, which is your favorite book ma'am's written?
I think clearly the one that I like is Wise and Otherwise, because all these stories are mainly from her experience in Infosys Foundation, if I'm not wrong. And there are many others. There are lots of stories from Mahabharata, unusual stories from Mahabharata, Ramayana, all of that are there. But for me, I think Wise and Otherwise, and then 3,000 Stitches. That again is another thing because she narrated the first story from that book where these 3,000 Devadasis wanted to give her a present. This happened a few years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, and then they were not certain what is it that they could give. They hardly had any money. So what they did was they took 300 pieces of cloth and they stitched it, 3,000 pieces of clothes, and they stitched it together. Each Devadasi completed the stitch of one piece, and then finally they made an excellent duvet, excellent chadar kind of stuff, quilt, and then they gave it to her in front of all of us. So
inspiring. Ma'am, it's a well-known fact that you're a movie buff and you enjoy watching movies of all genres. Can we know how did this fondness start and what is your favorite movie?
What is my favorite movie is difficult to tell. It depends which zamana. When I was a teenager, of course, Dilip Kumar. Rajesh Khanna, when he died, I cried. Because he was a great romantic hero. And Murthy was surprised at how the way I was crying for Rajesh Khanna. Devanand was very, very popular. It depends on which age you are asking me. And which language, because I see movies from many languages. Marathi I see. Of course, Hindi is number one. I hardly see English movies. I enjoy Hindi movies. I really enjoy, and it's the greatest ambassador. I was in Iran and I bought a few naans on the road. So they do not know English. I don't know their Persian language. I asked how much money. You can always talk with your sign language. He said, India, I wear sari and Hindi. Yes. He said, Amitabh Bachchan, yes. Shah Rukh Khan, yes. No money. Okay, so many times, it happens all over the world. I was in Cuba. I went to Cuba. Can you imagine Cuba? We were shopping, I wanted to buy something wooden thing, and that lady asked me, Madhuri Dixit, I said, yes. Then she asked me about Aishwarya Rai. No money. I said, then let me buy more. Okay. So I believe, I told this one Farhan Akhtar when I met him, it is not just a movie. It is not a 2.5 hours movie. What you do on TVs, on your screen, goes to the deepest part of the Indian village and people follow. You smoke, they smoke. You drink, they drink. So please remember, you have great responsibility than my book or my talk. So you should be a role model to them, because many people believe they really live like that. Actually, they don't live like that. So Hindi, I come from a place in Hubli, where I think Urdu bhi chalta hai, Hindi bhi chalta hai. So Hindi was a great attraction to when we learned Hindi also. Always seen Hindi movies. It was a treat, and I've written one of my book, When My Marks Come Were Less.
That's why, because apparently you do not like movies at all.
No, I think when we were going steady before we got married, we saw lots of movies, at least once a week. Probably you're right.
Once
a
a long
week.
period of 4 years, so we should saw.
4 years, so we saw quite a few movies. But for a long time, my parents, my father used to tell us that in life you must have very simple habits, because then you are not a victim of money. If you are not a victim of money, you will not do anything wrong. So one day we have my eldest brother, he said, man, this old man is all the time giving us big lecture. So he said, tell us 3 things that are simple and inexpensive. So my father said, look, read books. Those days in Karnataka, every small town had a public library where you could borrow a book for one day. Not one day, one book for a certain number of days. And that was free. So he said, you go to the public library, borrow a book, and you can read. Second, he said, listen to music. In every small town in Karnataka those days, in the park, they would play from 4:30 to 7:30 or so, some music, some classical, some film music, Kannada, Hindi, all of that. So he'd say, go and, we didn't have any radio at home. So he said, no, go and sit there, enjoy music. It doesn't cost any money. Third, he said, make good friends and, have a pleasant time with them. That doesn't cost any money. That's exactly what I do even today. Of course, I have lots of, on my iPad itself, I have about 15,000 songs, most of which is Western classical music. And then, I read lots of books. She has her own library, I have my own library, we have a common library, all of that.
I don't lend any book to him. You can afford to buy one copy, that's all.
And therefore we read quite a lot. Though I must confess that even today I love popular science, physics, mathematics, computer science, theoretical computer science. These are the areas that I generally read even today. Of course, it's become more and more difficult to understand as I'm growing older. Today probably I take 3 times the amount of time I took 20 years ago to understand the same stuff. But still, for me, mathematics, physics, theoretical computer science, these are the three areas in which I read books. And finally, I have a small set of friends with whom I can spend as much time as possible. That's how I spend.
Thank you, sir. both of you that I would like to ask the last question of the day, and I would like to end this by asking the most important question, which is in the mind of our audience today. How do we instill humility and value of money in our children? How did you ensure these values of compassion and detachment of money was passed on to your children?
As a mother, the most difficult job was to bring up children in a middle class value system. Because when you do not have money, you can always say, I can't afford. Every day press will write how much money we have and remind us that we have a lot of money. So it was very hard for me how to bring up children. Thanks, my parents were downstairs and I was upstairs. So they saw a simple way of living. Second, children do not require any role models other than parents because they always follow parents. So you have to lead by example. I used to take my children, both children, to my social work, compulsory, and tell them, look, you are nothing great, you know. The children on the other side of the poverty line are as bright as you are. They don't get an opportunity and you got an opportunity because accidental birth. So it's your duty that you have to help them. It's like, you know, how you get up in the morning, brush your teeth, have your breakfast. It's your duty to help those, otherwise you are not done your duty. So the best compliment I got from my children is my son wrote on my birthday when he was 16. At 16, normally children don't do such things, but he wrote to me, Amma, every mother looks after their children, but my mother is different. She looks after others' children. That time I realized my son has grown up. And he has his own account and there will be money in that. So he won't get the checkbook, is always with me. You know, so I won't. Until he's 21, I said it will not be. When he was 21, it was 2001, he was in US, he was actually 17 at that time. He wrote to me, Amma, you should take out money from my account. I don't know how much I have, but each family should get some money. The 13 people who died to protect Parliament in a Parliament attack, they died, all these police people died so that we can live in independent, democratic India, and it's my duty to give something to the family. Then I thought I passed the examination. So bring up children is, number one, I never gave them what they asked. For example, we did not have a TV until he was in 12th class. Why you require a TV? Tell me, news, read the paper. Never give a pocket money to them. I will give some 20 rupees, then I'll ask for the receipt. Then my daughter told me, better not give 20 rupees, ask 20 times the receipt. What I want, I will ask. Never allowed them a 5-star hotel or anywhere, even though it's not, in case any family, some get together there. I said, no, as much as possible, we will take children the least amount of time. Then my daughter, particularly girls, are very fond of dress, etc. And she was a teenager girl. And she has a very good eye for fashion or the colors, not like me. She's more like her father, who has a good eye on in the Infosys. You look at the building, the kind of drapes he uses, which I would not have done. I would have said, okay, everything is fine. For Murthy is very particular in all such things, and she is like that. So I told Akshata, if you want to have a new dress, retire one. I gave them only one wardrobe, your clothes should fit in that. No extra wardrobe. So you retire in that. And you have to retire. And recently my son gave an interview, now he stays separate, and I do not know much about him, what he does. And he told in the interview that I have 3 pants, 5 shirts, 1 t-shirt, 1 winter coat and 2 hats or something. I was very touched that he could buy many things, but he adhered to that which was taught to him when he was young, that nothing extra. If you don't need, don't store. Even for me, I don't have anything extra. Nothing will be extra for me. What is needed, only that much. You have to put extra effort and lead by example, not giving a sermon. What children ask, they won't ever give immediately. Let them wait. What happens today when you have wealth? Children will ask one Nintendo game, you'll buy 2. Children trouble a lot, then buy something so that they'll keep quiet. Then, when I'm talking to someone, the child will be troubling, so you play a video game. You do all those things. Don't ever do. However hard it is, don't allow children to play video games. I said, no, don't require. You rather play outside, go and play outside. Become who knows, you may be a Sachin Tendulkar tomorrow. You will never become, that's a different story. But you have to tell such words. Let them play physical games. Let them go out, meet friends. Then what they ask, don't ever give immediately. I never gave them anything immediately. Let them wait. Because who used to wait for Diwali to get a new dress? Let them also wait. Waiting gives them a joy of that. The day you buy everything, the joy, you are killing their joy. Let them wait, let them ask 10 times. And they say somebody has, I said, someone has something. I said, okay, they may be having, but we don't have. Because everybody is different. I used to tell children, please remember, every flower is different with its own beauty. Hibiscus is different, a beautiful color but no smell. Whereas jasmine is beautiful, but may not be that great color, but a good smell. So you have to give the story, tell them, and that made them probably what they are. Once they are married, I took a back seat because they correspond different unit. Until that, in my control, whatever I could do, without controlling, becoming a friend with them and teaching them these are the real values of life.
Bhakti, let me say this. Those of us who don't have checkbooks don't have this problem of moderating the habits. I'm sure Funny has the same problem as me. He also doesn't.
Because I always believe women, when they are born as managers. Men in this hall should excuse me. We should pamper them saying that, oh, you are very intelligent and great. They aren't actually. The women who are smart, God has given that sense. Because she will be a daughter, a bhabhi, a nanand, a daughter-in-law, a mother, a saas and grandmother, etc. She also undergoes a labor pain, which no man undergoes. And in the process, she learns how to control, how to bring up, how to manage. She is always born with a great managerial quality. You should allow men to work, but ultimately you should keep an eye on the family. And only woman can do that. It is not the checkbook or no checkbook, there is online and there is a plastic card, okay? I'm aware of that. But it's not the money concept. She is the one, she is the one who is responsible in the family and of the welfare. And that's the reason. That's the reason we say, Yatra Narya Ramante Pujante Tatra Devataha.
Thank you, ma'am. Such inspiring words for all of us. We'll all keep in mind. We'll now open the Q&A session for the audience.
Please do, but don't ask this question. When Murthy was started Softronics, who is to pay the dinner bills? It's only I paid. So leaving that question, I think others you can ask. And no exaggeration, smaller question up to the mark. No, not too detailed because I won't remember that. Be brief, no adjectives, and only small questions.
I can't stop admiring both of you. May God keep you in good health always. I just want to share a feeling with Sir. I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of Infosys DCs, and I was mesmerized by Infosys Mysore. It's a masterpiece you have built. Hats off to you. You have created a property that I'm sure the world envies. Thank you so much for impacting so many lives, so many lives. And to ma'am, a small submission. It's a very secret desire which I want to share. I want to see you as President of India.
I'm very happy.
I think you must consider this. You need somebody with these strong values standing and making an impact.
I'm happy as a foundation head. That's more than a president post.
Well, all that I would say is please visit again. It is always a pleasure to welcome visitors who can appreciate that we in India too can build something world class.
I would request all
I
50
have
people
been
more.
to all over the world, and there is no other place in the world where such a nice campus, such a large training campus has been built. Nowhere else in the world. In fact, it is larger than State University of Ohio campus in Columbus. We have 11,300 single rooms. And if we use them as double rooms, 22,600 people. Stanford is a big campus, 8,000 acres. This is not as big as that. It's about 360 acres. But still, just in terms of the built-up area, it is bigger. So I think not just that, in terms of quality of construction, which you have seen, in terms of the pride in maintaining it, even today, as if it was built yesterday, I think that is what we are all very proud of. We have made it extremely green. There are 7 lakes on the campus. It is, we are self-sufficient in water, in electricity, etc. So I think it's.
I would request, Fiki, non-Fiki also, to come and visit Infosys Mysore. And I always tell this one, because it
citizens
shows.
of Kanpur, why not?
All of you can, citizens of Kanpur can come. It's a great place. I want for a particular reason. When we started Infosys, we did not have money. We did not have any political connection. We did not have any rich relatives. We were like a common person, an unknown person actually. Never went on a caste, community, language basis, 6, 7 different people. So today if you ask somebody, you want to be successful, oh, I'm not well connected, I don't have money. A son of a school teacher, with his hard work and with his team, can create a place like Infosys. I consider that a modern wonder to me.
Save your time then.
I think let's try and answer his. No, I personally think that if the citizens of Kanpur was to stand up as a group and then say enough is enough, you politicians, you bureaucrats, we want our city to be clean. But that comes with a huge responsibility of each one of you keeping the front of your house, front of your office clean in the best possible way. And if you did that, and if you encourage other people to do that, and if you ensure that the funding that is given to Kanpur is utilized honestly and well, I do believe that Kanpur will be no less than any other city in the world. That's what I would say.
Sir, the compassionate capital is a very impressive thing of Infosys Foundation office in UP. Will be followed by an Infosys office of Infosys software. So we conducted a survey and we think around 5,000 plus engineers belonging to Kanpur are employed with Infosys. If they start working from home for 1 month a year, I think we'll make some beginning somewhere.
I didn't understand. If they start working from home for 1 month a year.
Send them back, sir. Send them back home. They are not compassionate capitalists. They are compassionate professionals. They are very poor relatives in Kanpur and UP.
No. I think you're all here. There are, I don't know, probably 50 lakh Kanpur fellows. You are asking some 5,000 fellows sitting in Bangalore to come and improve your lot? Come on. I mean, you people should first demonstrate what you can do to improve your city. And then, yes, then you can demand them. They demand that they return. Otherwise, you will not have the right to do that.
Thank you for this.
Very brief. No, I think in fairness we have to give opportunity to women also. Already 2 men have asked, and I think it is now the chance of a woman. So let the lady.
Our guest.
I have all your books in my library.
Thank you for making me rich and famous.
Yeah, I got them all. And I just want to know which is your next book coming?
Well, I'm writing a series, please sit down. I'm writing a series in unheard stories in mythology, which is my 50 years research. And now the fourth book is going to come this year, Women in Mythology, other than Sita and Draupadi. It's very hard And it took 1 year for me. Actually, I did research for a long time, and that is my next book. Another one is going to come in November. Gopi. Gopi is my dog. Okay. So my son's dog, and I'm a grandmother. Okay. Grandmother to Gopi, and Gopi's point of view how the world looks like. It is meant for 4 and 6 age group. But women in mythology, I'm sure all of you can read. It's really hard. A lot of hard work has gone through that. Thank you.
Ma'am, sir, thank you. Thank you so much for this lovely discussion. It has been extremely enriching and memorable for all of us. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways for each one of us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now request Thai President, Mr. Amit Tiwari, to come in and give the vote of thanks.
Mr. Guest, Mr. and Mrs. Murthy, most valuable and invited guests here, members of Thai, UP and TP Flow, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my pleasure and my privilege basically to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this precious occasion. I, on behalf of Thai, UP and TP Flow, and the entire organizing team present here, and my own behalf, extend a hearty thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Murthy, who came here, take their time on this precious occasion with us. Ladies and gentlemen, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling a week ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues of TAI, UP and FICIFLO. A big thanks to IIT Kanpur, especially Professor Fani, because without your support, this type of event cannot be possible. I must mention my deep sense of appreciation to our entire organizing team of TAI and FICIFLO. I am grateful to Mr. Manoj Agrawal, Mr. Gopal Sudwala, Mr. Vishal Khed, Mrs. Anuradha Vashne, Ms. Aarti, Mrs. Pooja, Vikas Shukla, for your valuable support to make this event a big success. My special thanks to media person who basically came here to cover this event. I would also like to thank Ms. Ankita Dwivedi, the ED of TAI UP. She has given work tirelessly with us till late nights to make this event a big success. Before thanking to Almighty, I would like to pay my heartiest thanks to all of you who came here by taking time from your busy schedule. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Before we wind up, I have a request. Be seated. Once our guests have left, then we can leave. For the final. Okay.